Welcome to Cupid's Manhwa. Today's exploration of the captivating tale. Mrs. Bo was stripped of her vest again today. This handsome couple was on the verge of divorce, yet at this moment, they were engaged in the most intimate act. The woman shyly placed her finger on the man's lips, trying to stop him. "Hubby, we're about to get divorced." But the man simply silenced her with a kiss. "As long as we haven't signed the divorce papers, you're still my wife, at least on paper. We should cherish every moment we have." The next morning, Won-soo struggled to get up, her body exhausted. As usual, the man zipped up her dress for her, then hugged her from behind. "Since we're getting divorced, the act is over. If you don't want to go, you don't have to." Won-soo replied seriously, "Grandpa was always kind to me. I want to see him one last time and send him off." Bo Qingji simply said, "Alright, I'll have Song Yen take you there." As she watched his retreating figure, she knew the message was clear: he didn't want their marriage to be exposed. Over the past 4 years, everyone only knew that the CEO of Bo Group had a mysterious hidden wife, but no one had ever seen her. She was merely a woman who existed in rumors. It started drizzling. Friends and family had gathered to bid farewell to the old master. Bo Qingji stood silently in front of the tombstone, his chest tightening with sorrow as memories of his grandfather's laughter and presence filled his mind. Just then, Won-soo walked over, holding a bouquet of lilies. Without hesitation, she knelt down in the rain and bowed 3 times to the old master. Everyone was stunned. Who was this beautiful young woman? Among all of the old master's grandchildren, only Mr. Bo had knelt, no one else. Wasn't it rumored that Mr. Bo had a hidden wife? If she was truly unloved, why wasn't she kept away on such an important occasion? And weren't they supposed to be getting divorced? After paying her respects, Won-soo turned to leave. Suddenly, a young man caught up to her, his voice full of disdain. "Now that Grandpa isn't here to protect you, let's see how long you can keep acting high and mighty." The person who had come was Bo Wenhao, the second young master of the Bo family and Bo Qingji's half-brother. Won-soo asked nonchalantly, "Did you chase after me just to say this?" Bo Wenhao glared at the woman in front of him, who always pretended to be so obedient. "I'm warning you, don't even think about getting a single cent of the Bo family's wealth." Won-soo chuckled lightly. "Are you done? Then, farewell." Seeing her indifferent attitude, the second young master was unwilling to let it go and shouted from behind, "One day, I'll expose your true colors." Won-soo looked up at the rain falling from the sky, memories of her first encounter with Bo Qingji surfacing in her mind. Back then, she had stood at the entrance of the hospital, expressionless, repeatedly asking if anyone was willing to marry her. People thought she was crazy. It just so happened that Bo Qingji, who urgently needed a wife, took in the pitiful woman before him. Now, the grandfather who had treated her like a real granddaughter was gone. The 4-year-long marriage act had finally come to an end. Returning to a secret villa she had quietly purchased, Won-soo was met with several men in black suits who immediately bowed respectfully upon seeing her. Jiang Xingyu, one of her trusted subordinates, was surprised and quickly stepped forward. "Boss, why are you back?" Won-soo curled her lips into a smile. "I'm divorced." Jiang Xingyu was momentarily stunned. "Your husband is every woman's dream, Bo Qingji, the unrivaled, devastatingly handsome man. You're really willing to let him go?" Won-soo walked into her study, turned on her computer, and began typing away at lightning speed. "Enough nonsense. Give me the latest sales report." As she spoke, her fingers flew across the keyboard, hacking into the city's traffic surveillance system and wiping all traces of her journey from the records. Just then, her phone suddenly rang. It was Bo Qingji calling. "Where did you go? It's so late, why aren't you back yet?" Won-soo responded calmly, "President Bo, have you forgotten? We're already divorced." Bo Qingji frowned. "As long as I haven't signed the papers, the divorce isn't final. Be good and come home." His tone was just like that of a husband urging his wife to return home late at night. Wan-su playfully replied, "Alright, hubby, wait for me." Half an hour later, as soon as she stepped inside, she saw Bo Qingji sitting on the sofa with a laptop on his lap. Upon hearing the fingerprint lock beep, the man looked up at her. "Where did you run off to?" Wan-su casually made up an excuse. "I'll have to move out eventually, so I spent the day looking for a new place." Bo Qingji closed his laptop. "Are you sure you don't want to just keep this villa?" Wan-su walked up to him and playfully blinked. "Nope." The man immediately pulled her onto his lap. "Don't you think you're leaving empty-handed?" Wan-su gazed at him with a charming smile. "In these 4 years, you never argued with me, never treated me poorly. I ate the best food, wore the best clothes, and lived in comfort. What exactly am I losing?" Bo Qingji wrapped his arms around her. "You really don't have any attachment to me? If you stay by my side, you can have anything you want." But for Wan-su, this marriage had only ever been a lifeline. The man once again expressed his stance in the most physical way possible. Since they were getting divorced, they might as well make the most of every moment. The next morning, while Wan-su was making breakfast, Bo Qingji couldn't help but hug her from behind. "Why don't you just stay here?" Wan-su's tone remained gentle. "The food's about to burn. Move." But inwardly, she couldn't help but grumble, "Is this man a clingy puppy? He just can't sit still for a second." Just then, the butler suddenly called out, "Young master. Miss Wang is here to see you." Bo Qingji glanced at the woman at the entrance with slight displeasure. "How did you find this place?" Wang Xinya gave a charming smile and pulled out an invitation card. "Bo Qingji, my birthday party is next Saturday. It's my first time hosting one, and I'm a little nervous. I'd like to invite you as my witness, would that be okay?" Bo Qingji only spared her a glance before turning his gaze to Wan-su. By all logic, if another woman showed up at her husband's doorstep, she should at least react. But instead, she continued enjoying her breakfast, completely unfazed, as if it had nothing to do with her. Irritated, he turned to the butler and said, "Take it." Wang Xinya's large eyes swept over the shoe cabinet near the entrance. Several pairs of women's shoes were neatly placed there. So the rumors are true, Bo Qingji really does have a hidden wife. After finishing her meal, Wan-su placed her bowl in the kitchen and casually turned to head upstairs. As she did, she tossed a remark to Bo Qingji, "Hubby, remember to do the dishes later." Just as Wang Xinya was still processing the shock, the man before her actually responded, "Alright, wifey." Then, without a hint of emotion, he looked at Wang Xinya and asked, "Anything else?" "I need to go wash the dishes." Wang Xinya was clearly struggling to comprehend the scene. Bo Qingji, the aloof and ruthless CEO, actually does such down-to-earth chores at home? Just what kind of magic does this woman have? After finishing the dishes, Bo Qingji went upstairs and saw that Wan-su had changed into a dress of the same color as Wang Xinya's. However, on her, it looked more elegant and striking. Smirking, he teased, "Are you jealous?" But Wan-su remained composed. "If Miss Wang really likes you, I think she's a good match. Once we finalize our divorce, you can go ahead and marry her." She was just about to brush it off when Bo Qingji, slightly annoyed, pulled her into his arms. This woman was always so obedient and well-behaved. In the past, he used to love that about her, but now, for some reason, he found it unbearably frustrating. Leaning close to her ear, he murmured, "Come with me on a flight tonight. You've never been on my plane before, have you?" Wan-su felt a flicker of impatience. Does he really need me for something like this? But outwardly, she maintained her gentle smile. "Of course, hubby. As long as it's with you, I'd go anywhere, even through fire and water." On the plane, drowsily opening her eyes, Wan-su looked at him. "You're here. Who's flying the plane?" Bo Qingji simply reached out to touch her forehead. "The co-pilot switched shifts with me." "Why are you so warm?" As he spoke, he picked up a cup of medicine and brought it to her lips. Won-soo frowned, clearly reluctant. The man leaned in, his voice low and coaxing, "Be good and drink it. Otherwise, I won't mind feeding you myself." Resigned, she took the cup, pouting, "Fine, I'll drink it, but it's so bitter. I must be exhausted from the past few days." Bo Qingji casually wiped the corner of her lips. "Take care of yourself. Don't make me worry." She obediently nodded but inwardly steeled herself. "I need to speed up this divorce. Too many unpredictable factors keep popping up." After arriving at their destination, they settled into a hotel. Won-soo considerately massaged his shoulders. "Didn't we agree not to put on a show in public?" Bo Qingji smirked. "You don't like it?" "It's not that. It's just that we're about to get divorced." Hearing her bring up divorce yet again, Bo Qingji's frustration flared. Without warning, he pushed her onto the bed. "If you're so impatient, then I'll grant your wish." Won-soo tried to stop his next move. "Let's part on good terms." Bo Qingji gazed at her intently. "The entire Weiqing Lake community will be yours from now on. A divorce gift worth 2.8 billion. I can't possibly accept that." Bo Qingji smirked. "You, Won-soo, have never been one to refuse anything." With the final stamp from the staff, the two of them each took their divorce certificate and walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Bo Qingji's cool voice rang out. "Where are you headed?" "I'll give you a ride." Won-soo declined indifferently. "No need." He couldn't understand it, his once sweet and obedient wife had suddenly turned so cold. Won-soo waved toward the other side of the street. A sleek Range Rover that had been parked there roared to life and pulled up beside her. The driver's door opened, revealing a familiar, handsome face, Jiang Xingyu, the CEO of Baisui Pharmaceuticals. He greeted Bo Qingji politely, then grabbed Won-soo's luggage and loaded it into the trunk. Bo Qingji frowned as he watched Won-soo slide into the front passenger seat. No wonder she was in such a rush to leave, she already had someone lined up. Won-soo waved at him with a radiant smile. In 4 years of marriage, she had always been gentle and demure, but she had never smiled this brightly. She would never call him hubby in that sweet voice again. Well, that was fine. At least things would be peaceful now. Instead of returning to her villa, Won-soo went to Nanshan Cemetery. Kneeling before Grandpa Bo's tombstone, she whispered, "Grandpa, I'm sorry. Bo Qingji and I are divorced now. I hope you won't blame me. I'll visit you often when I have time." Just as she finished speaking and was about to leave, she noticed a man standing not far away, staring at her intensely. They had just parted ways, yet here they were, running into each other again. It was truly a case of fate playing tricks. Without a trace of emotion, Won-soo brushed past him. But Bo Qingji reached out and grabbed her wrist. "Why are you here to see Grandpa? And what's your relationship with Jiang Xingyu? Did you divorce me because of him?" Won-soo had no desire to argue with him. She forcefully shook off his hand and strode away without looking back. Bo Qingji stood there, momentarily stunned. Was this really the same gentle and charming Won-soo from before? Just then, his assistant, Song Yen, called. "Young master, Wang Xinya had an accident while filming, her wire snapped, and she fell, breaking her leg. She's already been sent to the hospital." Bo Qingji simply responded, "Wait for me there. I'm on my way." At the hospital, Song Yen quickly briefed him on Wang Xinya's condition. But as Bo Qingji lifted his head, he suddenly halted in his tracks. A group of people had just stepped out of the elevator at the end of the hallway. Leading them was a woman in a white coat, his recently divorced wife, Won-soo. He had to admit, this woman was breathtakingly beautiful. No matter what she wore, she always looked stunning. Images of their past intimacy involuntarily surfaced in his mind. At that moment, a nurse approached her. "Dr. Wan, everything is ready." The surgery can begin at any time. Won-soo walked past Bo Qingji without sparing him a glance, her cold voice commanding the team behind her, "Everyone, stay focused." Song Yen, still in shock, whispered, "Young master, did I see that right? Was that Miss Won?" Bo Qingji clenched his jaw and forced out 2 words through gritted teeth. "It's her. Wasn't she unemployed? Didn't she drop out of college?" Song Yen hesitated before asking, "What about Miss Wang?" But Bo Qingji had no time to care about that now. He simply instructed him to handle the situation, as long as it didn't stir up any unnecessary drama. Still unwilling to give up, Bo Qingji grabbed a passing nurse and asked insistently, "That doctor just now, was her name Won-soo?" The nurse was startled. "Are you talking about Dr. Won? She's incredible. Many top figures fight to have her as their doctor." Bo Qingji was completely dumbfounded. The renowned young doctor everyone admired was actually Won-soo. The woman before him now, cold and distant, was a far cry from the sweet and gentle wife he had once known. Had she been pretending all along? After finishing the surgery, Won-soo stepped out of the operating room, only to find Bo Qingji waiting outside. She was exhausted and had no interest in dealing with him. But before she could leave, Bo Qingji suddenly cornered her against the wall, his arms blocking her escape. "Have you been lying to me all these years?" Won-soo's expression remained indifferent. "This is just the beginning," she thought. Bo Qingji lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Answer me." Won-soo's voice was calm as she replied, "As you can see, there's nothing to explain." Just then, a nurse rushed over. "Dr. Won, the director asked you to give a lecture to the interns." But upon witnessing the intimate scene between the two, she immediately looked away in embarrassment. Seizing the opportunity, Won-soo pushed Bo Qingji away. Bo Qingji turned to the nurse and asked, "Is Dr. Won highly respected in this hospital?" The nurse's face lit up with admiration. Of course. She was a top scorer in the National College entrance exam at just 15 and entered a prestigious medical university. She quickly rose to become the leading surgeon here. She's nothing short of legendary. Once again, Bo Qingji was stunned. "Won-soo, just how many secrets have you been keeping from me?" In the CEO's office, a senior executive nervously reported, "President Bo, news of your visit to see Wang Xinya at the hospital has gone viral. How would you like to handle this?" But Bo Qingji seemed completely lost in thought, as if he hadn't heard a word. Out of nowhere, he asked, "A few years ago, did any of you hear about a 15-year-old genius who topped the National College entrance exam?" One of the executives hesitated before replying, "I think I remember something. She was a science prodigy who skipped grades." But the news was quickly suppressed. Bo Qingji sank into deep contemplation. Back when they got married, he had assumed Won-soo never even attended college. How had she managed to keep all of this hidden? Just then, the office door burst open, and a strikingly good-looking young man swaggered in without a care in the world. It was Jiang Xinfeng, the rising music sensation from PhD Entertainment. "Seriously? All this fuss just because I didn't show up? My idol's busy dealing with her divorce right now, she doesn't have time to write me a song." Then he noticed the tense atmosphere and turned to an executive. "Hey, Director Liu, what are you doing? Being punished to stand here or something?" Director Liu secretly groaned. This troublemaker was already known for his reckless mouth, but couldn't he at least restrain himself in front of President Bo? Bo Qingji's gaze landed on the young man. "Why are you looking for Director Liu?" It was only then that Jiang Xinfeng realized he had barged in on Bo Qingji. Awkwardly, he greeted him and explained, "Well, my idol, Shui Hai, is too caught up in her divorce to write me a song right now. But she did give me a script. I want to try acting as the male lead." Director Liu quickly tugged at his sleeve. "You can discuss small matters like this with me privately. President Bo doesn't have time to care whether you act or not. Get out of here right now." Jiang Xinfeng's temper flared. you're always against me switching to acting. This time, I'll say it right in front of President Bo. But when he caught sight of the CEO's intimidating expression, his courage wavered slightly. Bo Qingji's irritation unexpectedly subsided a little when he heard that even the renowned music legend Shui Hai was dealing with a divorce. A big shot like her is going through the same thing as me? But then a strange sense of frustration crept in. What kind of ridiculous thoughts am I having? Where's my composure? My rationality? With a cold glance sweeping over the executives in the room, he said flatly, having your own ideas is good. Send me the script. If it's actually promising, Jiang Xinfeng can take the lead role. After finishing the discussion, Director Lu eagerly tried to please Bo Qingji. President Bo, have you decided which restaurant to book? Without thinking, Bo Qingji replied, Junyu. But the moment the words left his mouth, he realized something. Isn't that Ruan Su's favorite restaurant? Meanwhile, ever since rumors spread that Bo Qingji, the CEO of Bosher Group, had divorced and was back on the market, countless women had been vying for his attention. Among them was the newly famous actress Wang Xinya, who had once been linked to Bo Qingji in a scandal. Her tactic? Playing the damsel in distress. At that moment, in her hospital room, she was complaining to her manager. What's going on? I'm so sick, yet President Bo hasn't come to see me. Did you even inform him? Her manager tried to soothe her. Don't worry. He'll probably show up later. Wang Xinya glanced down at her swollen, bun-like ankle, fuming. This is all your fault. You said I wouldn't actually get hurt, but now my foot is sprained. Her manager looked helpless. My dear goddess, you should be glad you didn't need surgery. Besides, we've already told the media you had an operation. If President Bo does come, it'll blow up on the trending searches instantly. Just then, a knock came from the door. Both faces tensed, but Wang Xinya immediately switched to a frail, pitiful expression. However, when she saw that the person entering was Bo Qingji's assistant, Song Yan, her voice involuntarily rose by several octaves. Why is it you? Where's President Bo? Song Yan, sharp enough to catch her underlying thoughts, replied flatly, the young master is busy, so he asked me to come check on you. Disappointment flashed across Wang Xinya's face. My foot is probably going to take a while before I can walk again. Song Yan left her with a curt remark. Well, take care and recover. The company will coordinate with the production crew. Then he turned and left. As soon as Song Yan stepped out of the room, the sound of things being thrown in a fit of rage erupted from behind him. He shook his head helplessly. With a temper like that, she dreams of becoming Mrs. Bo? Keep dreaming. Meanwhile, Jiang Xinyu rushed into a restaurant, clutching a folder. When he saw the elegant and poised Ruan Su waiting for him, he couldn't help but grumble, it's so hot out, and just walking here from the office made me sweat like crazy. Ruan Su, clearly enjoying her plight, teased, well, who told you to wear so many layers? Jiang Xinyu was dying inside. I'm slaving away for you, the grand CEO of Centennial Pharmaceuticals. If I went to work every day dressed in casual clothes, what kind of image would that give? Ruan Su dropped the topic with a light laugh. Alright, to reward your hard work, I ordered all your favorite dishes. After taking a sip of red wine, Jiang Xinyu asked, Boss, now that you're divorced, what's next for you? Ruan Su, completely nonchalant, replied, I just found a new job. Jiang Xinyu choked on her wine, barely managing to swallow it before coughing violently. Luckily, Ruan Su dodged quickly. Otherwise, she would have been sprayed. She gave Jiang Xinyu a disdainful look and said, You're a CEO. Could you at least try to maintain some composure? Jiang Xinyu quickly grabbed a napkin to wipe his mouth and called the waiter over to tidy up the table. Aren't you busy enough already? What kind of job did you find? Ruan Su's appetite was completely ruined by her companion. She waved it off, saying, I'll tell you later. For now, show me the proposal. To make the discussion easier, Jiang Xinyu moved to sit beside Won-soo. The two of them leaned in close, poring over the document and talking in hushed tones. At that moment, Bo Qingji walked into the restaurant with his entourage. His gaze immediately landed on the pair, their heads almost touching. The sight displeased him, and his expression darkened. Won-soo sensed the oppressive atmosphere around her and glanced up. Her ex-husband. Of all places to run into him, it had to be here. Was it bad luck or some unresolved fate that they kept crossing paths even after their divorce? Jiang Xinyu, noticing Won-soo's sudden silence, followed her line of sight. When he saw Bo Qingji's cold and handsome face, he quickly got up and greeted him with a smile. "Oh, I was wondering who it could be. Turns out it's President Bo." Bo Qingji's tone, however, remained icy. "It seems President Jiang is dining with her girlfriend. Why not join us?" Jiang Xinyu chuckled politely. "Sure, but I'll need to ask for my girlfriend's opinion first." He leaned down and whispered a few words to Won-soo before standing up and responding graciously, "It's an honor to be invited by President Bo. How could we refuse?" Won-soo was planning to sit at the far end of the table to keep her distance from Bo Qingji. But before she could take her seat, the man, cold and commanding, said, "The air conditioning is too strong over there. Sit next to me." A few of Bo Qingji's senior executives, overhearing the exchange, couldn't help but whisper among themselves. "What's going on? The big boss actually invited Jiang Xinyu's date to sit with him. Isn't he supposed to be married?" Won-soo rested her chin on her hand, tilting her head to glance at Bo Qingji. Then, with effortless poise, she replied, "Thank you for your kindness, President Bo." With that, she gracefully took the seat beside him. Bo Qingji couldn't help but feel a flutter of emotions. This woman, as always, looked stunning without any adornment. Won-soo gestured toward a waiter in the distance. "I'd like a banana split and another dessert, please." Before the waiter could leave, Bo Qingji suddenly leaned in close to her ear and murmured, "You're on your period. You shouldn't eat things like this." Her ears burned with embarrassment. Seriously? Was the great President Bo so preoccupied with remembering such personal details, even after their divorce? What was he trying to do? Bo Qingji sipped his tea, quickly regaining his usual cold and distant demeanor, as if nothing had happened. Jiang Xinyu, watching this unfold, clenched his fists and lowered his head, hiding the hint of desolation in his eyes. As soon as the two desserts arrived at the table, Bo Qingji gave a domineering order for them to be taken away. The waiter, visibly nervous, stammered, "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't do that. Miss Ruan ordered these." One of the senior executives quickly added, "We're paying for this meal." The waiter, bowing respectfully, replied firmly, "Even if you're paying, I can't. I only take orders from Miss Ruan." The group froze, stunned. Who was this woman, exactly? How could she command such authority, enough to deny even Bo Qingji's wishes? Won-soo lowered her gaze and smiled faintly. "It's fine. I won't eat it." After the meal, Jiang Xinyu immediately played the role of the attentive companion, moving closer to Won-soo. "Let me help you carry your bag." The situation took an even stranger turn when all the restaurant staff, including the manager, personally escorted Won-soo out of the establishment with utmost respect. Bo Qingji's face turned so dark it seemed like it could drip ink. This woman had only been divorced for a few days, yet here she was, blatantly flirting with Jiang Xinyu in public. And to make matters worse, they were so blatantly close and affectionate, attracting even more attention. Several senior executives couldn't help but gossip among themselves, casting glances at Won-soo. How on earth had she managed to summon the president of Baisho Medical Group, Jiang Xinyu, at her beck and call? And just moments earlier, even Bo Qingji hadn't received this level of respect from the restaurant staff. After an unpleasant lunch with her ever-persistent ex-husband. Back at home, Won-soo changed into a fresh set of loungewear, opened her laptop, and asked her contact, and Lin, about the details of the case. And Lin responded, the other party is offering 500,000 yuan. Are you taking it? Wan-su chuckled lightly. Of course, why wouldn't I? Who's the client? Send me their details and requirements. And Lin hesitated before replying, the client has concealed their information. Narrowing her eyes slightly, Wan-su smirked. Hiding their identity? Seems like they don't want us to trace them. This is a tough case, and Lin added. It really needs your expertise in cybertracking. If you get involved, it could help thousands of people. I'm not that noble, Wan-su said nonchalantly. Tell them I'll deliver in 3 days. After hanging up, she received the case details in just 2 minutes. The task? Using her tracking skills to locate a man who had embezzled money and fled after a hit-and-run accident. The target had developed a real estate project that ended up as an abandoned construction site. The company's employees had left in droves due to unpaid salaries, while the workers who had built the project were left homeless and penniless. Meanwhile, a shifty figure abroad cautiously emerged from a dumpster. He had been hiding in Eastern Europe for 10 days, confident that no one was coming after him. The creditors had been chasing him for 6 months, surely, they had given up by now. He checked into a small motel, took a shower, and made a call to a local fixer. How's the house? It has to be a villa, at least, with a swimming pool and garden. Money isn't an issue. What he didn't know was that, back in China, a woman was already using unparalleled hacking skills to trace his every move. Wan-su worked through the night and only shut down her computer as dawn broke. She threw herself onto her soft bed, closed her eyes, and had barely fallen asleep when her phone suddenly rang. Fighting back a surge of irritation, she answered it. A lazy yet provocative voice came through the line, I hear you're Bo Wenhao's sister-in-law. Already annoyed at being woken up, Wan-su snapped, what do you want? The man's tone turned accusatory, tinged with anger. He hit my brother. What do you think should happen now? Wan-su sneered coldly. And what of it? The man's voice grew sharper, with a hint of threat. If you want to keep yourself out of trouble, you'd better come and handle this in person. Half an hour later, Wan-su arrived with her entourage and kicked open the Jiang family's front door. Jiang Qingguo, didn't you want to see me? Where are you now? Behind her, 2 bodyguards exchanged glances and sighed. What's wrong with the Jiang family? How could they dare provoke our boss? Look at her, she's furious. This is going to be a good show. Inside the living room, a young boy lay on the floor, bound tightly with ropes. Bo Wenhao shot her an angry glare. Why are you here? Are you here to laugh at me? Wan-su's expression was ice cold. I'm certainly not here to pick you up. Bo Wenhao was left speechless, choking on his words. Meanwhile, Jiang Qingguo, who had been sitting on the sofa and watching the scene unfold, finally stood up with a dark expression. Who is this woman? Does she have no respect for the Jiang family? From the stairs, Jiang Qinglu, his face swollen and bruised, yelled indignantly, Brother, you have to teach that brat Bo Wenhao a lesson. Oh, my poor mouth. Jiang Qinglu wailed as he walked down the stairs, clutching his aching mouth. Wan-su, her almond-shaped eyes narrowing, swung her whip sharply. So, you're the one who started all this? The whip landed squarely on Jiang Qinglu's calf, eliciting a pained howl as he crumpled to his knees. Who is this crazy woman? How dare you hit me? Jiang Qinglu shrieked. Wan-su smirked coldly. Let me make it clear to you. If it weren't for your brawling, I wouldn't have been rudely woken up. She turned her gaze to Bo Wenhao, still tied up on the floor. And you? Bo Wenhao flinched at her glare. What now? All you ever do is cause trouble. Don't pretend you're innocent in this. Bo Wenhao began wriggling away, panicked. What are you going to do? Don't tell me you're planning to hit me too. Before he could finish, the whip cracked down on his back. He let out a sharp yelp, writhing on the ground. I'm telling my brother. I'll make him divorce you. Jiang Chengwu's eyelid twitched at the spectacle, and Jiang Chengliu's cries grew louder. Feeling he had no other choice, Jiang Chengwu lunged forward, attempting to snatch the whip from Wan Su's hand. Wan Su sidestepped easily, a mocking smile tugging at her lips. Amateurs. Jiang Chengwu's expression darkened, shocked by her agility and strength. His eyes widened further as the whip lashed out again, sending him hurtling into the marble coffee table. The table shattered on impact, fragments scattering across the floor. Wan Su calmly blew at her hand as if dusting off imaginary debris. Here's some advice, don't disturb my sleep again. Consider this a lesson for the future. Her cold gaze swept over the scene before landing on the miserable Bo Wenhao, still sprawled on the ground. Well? Are you planning to stay here and play dead? Bo Wenhao scrambled to his feet awkwardly, hopping behind her like a wounded zombie. Even my brothers never hit me, and yet she dared. But why is she still dragging me along after beating me? He muttered, limping after her with a mix of fear and bewilderment. At this moment, a sleek black luxury car slowly pulled up to the entrance of the Jiang family villa. Bo Wenhao, spotting it as if it were a lifeline, quickly hopped over to it. Behind Wan Su, her twin bodyguards whispered curiously, so this is Bo Qingji, huh? He looks so cold. Lucky our boss divorced him. Wan Su shot them a frosty glare, silencing them instantly. However, their whispers had already caught Bo Qingji's attention. Nearby, Bo Wenhao anxiously begged, Bro, untie me quickly. But Bo Qingji didn't even glance at him. His gaze remained locked on Wan Su. If you're tough enough to fight, don't whine about it. Then, with long strides, he approached Wan Su, lowering his gaze as he looked down at her. The woman stood there in a simple nightgown and bunny slippers, something she would never have worn in the past. What are you doing here? He asked, his tone low but chilly. Wan Su's voice carried a hint of impatience. We're divorced. Could you please tell your brother to delete my number from his contacts? Bo Qingji ignored her request, instead changing the topic. Did Jiang Chengwu hurt you? Just then, another car arrived. Jiang Chengwu rolled down the window, his face pale as he glared at Wan Su. I won't forget this. Wan Su curved her lips into a mocking smile. Mr. Jiang, today's events will certainly leave an unforgettable impression. Bo Qingji's expression darkened. Mr. Jiang, how are we settling this? You tied up my brother. Jiang Chengwu, clearly irritated, snapped, my brother's been beaten up by that woman so badly we're on our way to the hospital right now. Of course, the one who'd truly taken the brunt of the injuries was Jiang Chengwu himself, though he was too prideful to admit it. Meanwhile, Bo Qingji's mind reeled with conflicting emotions. Injured? Her. This woman can't even open a bottle cap at home, Jiang Chengwu. What kind of joke is this? If you're going to slander someone, at least try a more believable story. Bo Wenhao shivered as he stepped forward to complain. Bro, he's not lying. I got beaten too. She went too far. She whipped me. Jiang Qinglu stuck his head out and chimed in excitedly, exactly. Bo Qingji, I can testify. She whipped my brother so hard he crashed into the coffee table. It shattered. Do you know how expensive that marble table was? Over 100 grand, gone just like that. Bo Qingji stared at Wan Su in disbelief. You took on all three of them by yourself? Wan Su lazily lifted her gaze. So, what? Are you going to stand up for them? Without warning, Bo Qingji grabbed her by the wrist and pulled her into his chest. What else have you been hiding from me? Wan Su let out a low chuckle. Mr. Bo, why do you sound so much like an exasperated father? Behind her, one of the bodyguards in white couldn't hold back a laugh, but her black-clad counterpart quickly tugged at her sleeve in warning, whispering, Careful, or the boss will have you carried away. Watching his rival Bo Qingji reprimand Ruan Su so harshly, Jiang Chengwei felt a wave of satisfaction and made a quick exit. I'll be off then. By the way, Bo Qingji said, expect Jiang Corporation stock to drop by 3% tomorrow. Jiang Qinglu scoffed. You think that scares me? Then, turning to Ruan Su, he winked flirtatiously. See you around, goddess. Just then, a familiar ringtone chimed. Ruan Su glanced at the name on her phone, a flicker of coldness flashing in her eyes. I've got other matters to attend to. Goodbye. Bo Qingji's expression darkened further as he watched a man in white open the car door for her with the utmost care. Damn it. Who are these two men to her, anyway? After receiving a call about her grandmother's illness, Ruan Su had no choice but to return to the house she'd vowed never to step into again. When she arrived, Li Meixin, her stepmother, was standing arrogantly with her hands on her hips, glaring at the old woman. When Ruan Su gets here, you know what to say, right? I'm talking to you, did you hear me? The grandmother flinched, her frail voice trembling as she responded, I understand. At that moment, the housekeeper's voice echoed through the hall, announcing, Second Miss has returned. The grandmother's eyes lit up with joy as she quickly got up and shuffled toward the door. Ruan Su handed over a cake she'd bought on the way, and the grandmother's face beamed with happiness at seeing her granddaughter after so long. Meanwhile, Li Meixin's scrutinizing gaze fell on Ruan Su's casual outfit, home clothes paired with slippers. She sneered, not to be nosy, but did you seriously step out dressed like that? If the business elites your father associates with saw you, what kind of impression would they have of the Ruan family's daughter? Ruan Su's expression didn't waver as she shot a cold glance at Li Meixin. If you know you're being nosy, then keep your mouth shut. She then turned her attention back to her grandmother, her tone softening. How are you feeling, Grandma? The grandmother quickly reassured her, I had a little cold a few days ago, but it's nothing serious. Don't worry about me. Just then, the sound of footsteps descended from upstairs as the housekeeper helped Ruan Xinhua, Ruan Su's father, into the room. Without much preamble, Ruan Su's voice turned sharp. I don't have much time. Say what you need to say. Ruan Xinhua attempted to feign warmth, putting on the air of a doting father. Xiao Su, do we really have to let things get so distant between us? We're family. Ruan Su let out a mirthless laugh. Family? It was far too late for that. Her mind flashed back to her childhood, when Ruan Fangfang made a mistake, she'd been the one punished, forced to kneel in the snow on a bitterly cold day. Where was this so-called family bond back then? Suppressing the irritation that bubbled within her, she asked again, her patience wearing thin. If you're not going to get to the point, I'm leaving. As she turned to go, Ruan Xinhua hurriedly called after her. Wait. Don't leave. His eyes darted to his mother, silently pleading for support, but the old woman remained silent, her head bowed. With no other option, he blocked Ruan Su's path and finally blurted out, you know your dad's company is going through some difficulties lately. Ruan Su's face was full of impatience. Get to the point. Ruan Xinhua quickly continued, explaining the situation with a mixture of frustration and desperation. A while back, we had renovations done on the Hua family's new hotel. One of the workers fell from the scaffolding, and now the Hua family wants to terminate our partnership. They're also demanding double the penalty fee in compensation. And old Master Hua, he's seriously ill. You should go check on him. If you can cure him, maybe young Master Hua will let this go. Ruan Su let out a cold snort, her lips curling into a faint smirk. So, after all that, you're finally showing your true colors. But her instincts told her it wasn't that simple. Her eyes narrowed as she asked, what happened to the worker who fell? The mention of the incident visibly irritated Ruan Xinhua. Don't even bring it up. He's still in the ICU. The medical bills are eating us alive. Ruan Su responded with a detached calm, got it. "Grandma, come walk me out." Once outside the villa, Won-soo held her grandmother's hand and gently asked, "Has that woman been treating you poorly?" The old woman's eyes darted away, her hesitation evident. "She's my daughter-in-law, what could she possibly do to me?" Her voice lacked conviction, and Won-soo caught the fleeting sadness in her gaze. Before Won-soo could press further, a bodyguard came rushing over, panting as he handed her a paper bag. "Inside is 200,000 yuan. She tucked the money into her grandmother's hands, clasping them firmly. "Take care of yourself, Grandma," she whispered, reluctant to part but knowing she had to leave. However, barely moments after she stepped out, Lee Mei-shin swooped in and snatched the money away, accusing the elderly woman of stealing from her. "How dare you take my money," she spat venomously. Furious, Won Xinhua didn't stop at words. He shoved his mother in a fit of rage, sending her stumbling hard against the wall. Blood trickled down her forehead as she clutched at the wound, her trembling voice thick with pain and disbelief. "The son I raised with my own hands, how could he turn into this?" Her sorrow was palpable, a pain that stemmed not just from the physical blow but from the realization of just how far her son had fallen. As Bo Qingji reviewed the passenger manifest, his gaze stopped on one name, Won-soo. His sharp eyes narrowed slightly before turning to the purser and instructing, "Keep an eye on the passengers around her and her movements." The purser hesitated for a moment, unsure what made this particular passenger noteworthy. Meanwhile, Won-soo was resting peacefully by the window, her eyes closed. The man seated beside her, a blonde-haired gentleman, seemed captivated by her beauty, stealing glances repeatedly. After discreetly circling the cabin, the purser reported back. Miss Ruan napped for a bit but was woken up by the gentleman next to her, his name's Hajime, from Italy. He's been overly attentive, even picking up items she dropped 3 times. Bo Qingji's brow furrowed. "He's doing it on purpose," he muttered, his tone cold and displeased. With everything in the cockpit running smoothly under the co-pilot's control, Bo Qingji stepped into the cabin holding a glass of strawberry juice. He approached Won-soo's seat. Despite her effort to ignore him, the tension between them was undeniable. To her, their encounter felt unnecessary and invasive. After all, they were divorced, wasn't it better to pretend they didn't know each other? Unbothered by her frosty demeanor, Bo Qingji handed her the drink. "It's your favorite," he said, his voice low and calm. Won-soo didn't even glance at the glass. "That was in the past. I don't like it anymore. Please don't disturb my rest." Her words were sharp, but Bo Qingji remained unfazed. He looked at her intently. "I need to rest too." She bit back her frustration. "Then go back to your seat. This seat works just fine for me. I bought the ticket, it's mine," she continued as she saw him settle in beside her with no intention of moving. His audacity reached a peak when he leaned forward, brushing a strand of her hair aside. "Kiss me once, and I'll leave," he said, the playful challenge clear in his voice. Won-soo slapped his hand away without hesitation. Before she could say more, Bo Qingji smirked and asked, "Do you think he's handsome?" It was obvious who he was referring to, and Won-soo found the question utterly ridiculous. Without dignifying it with a response, she shut her eyes again, clearly uninterested in his antics. Leaning closer, his voice dropped to a whisper, teasing yet confident. "So, you're admitting I'm better looking?" Won-soo's eyes flew open, her anger simmering. "Bo Qingji, please have some decency," she snapped. But instead of backing off, the man seized the moment to wrap an arm around her slim waist. His lips curved into a mischievous smile as he whispered, "You used to love it when I nibbled your ear, like this." Her patience reached its breaking point. With one sharp tug, she yanked at his tie, forcing him closer. "Are you done?" she demanded through gritted teeth. Before he could respond, the plane suddenly jolted, throwing them off balance. Won-soo stumbled forward, accidentally knocking her forehead into his chin. Bo Qingji's reflexes kicked in instantly as he steadied her with a protective grip. Be careful, he murmured, his voice unusually serious. I need to check on the situation. Passengers began murmuring nervously, the turbulence shaking the plane enough to unsettle even the calmest flyers. The purser staggered through the aisle, attempting to reassure everyone. Please don't panic. The plane encountered some turbulence, but it will stabilize soon. Her words had barely left her lips when she lost her footing and fell heavily to the ground, letting out a sharp cry of pain. Won-soo pushed herself up from her seat, grabbing onto the armrest for support as she moved toward the fallen purser. But before she could get far, a nearby flight attendant intercepted her. Miss, please sit down. It's dangerous to walk around, do you want to get hurt? Ignoring the warning, Won-soo pressed forward, steadying herself against the shaking cabin walls. I'm Dr. Won-soo from Jeong City First Hospital, she announced firmly, kneeling beside the injured purser. Meanwhile, the turbulence intensified, and panic rippled through the cabin. Some passengers were on the verge of hysteria, while flight attendants frantically instructed them to lower their oxygen masks. Suddenly, a cool, steady voice came over the intercom. I am the wife of Bo Chingji, the captain of this flight. My husband is professionally trained to ensure the safety of both himself and every one of you. Trust him, we will land safely. Please follow my instructions. In the cockpit, the first officer's face was pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he stared at the radar screen, which showed a menacing red zone ahead. His voice shook as he turned to Bo Chingji. What should we do? This looks bad. Bo Chingji's expression was unwavering, his tone commanding. Calm yourself. Follow my lead and stay focused. We'll get through this together. 10 minutes later, the plane finally stabilized. The passengers, who had been holding their breath, collectively sighed in relief. Gratitude filled the cabin as many offered their heartfelt thanks to both Won-soo and Captain Bo. Once the plane landed safely at its destination, Won-soo grabbed her luggage and merged into the stream of disembarking passengers. Suddenly, a large hand clasped her arm from behind. Mrs. Bo, where do you think you're going? Bo Chingji's voice was low and steady. Won-soo glanced back at him indifferently. When your purser got hurt, I said what I did just to calm the passengers. Don't take it too seriously. Irritation flickered across his face. I just wanted to remind you that the title, Mrs. Bo, comes with limited usage rights. Won-soo let out a cold laugh, her tone laced with mockery. Don't worry. It was a one-time thing, and I have no intention of clinging to you. Without giving him a chance to reply, she turned on her heel and walked away. Bo Chingji stood rooted in place, a flicker of frustration clouding his usually composed demeanor. He had half expected her to hesitate or show some attachment to her former role, but this woman, his once obedient and gentle wife, had turned into someone entirely different after their divorce. A moment later, a sleek luxury car pulled up smoothly at the entrance of a sprawling estate. 2 rows of men in black suits instantly bowed respectfully as Won-soo approached, her suitcase rolling behind her. Lin Chi, one of her trusted confidants, hurried forward to greet her. Boss, you came alone? He asked, concern evident in his voice. Won-soo slid off her sunglasses, her sharp gaze fixed on him. What's the situation? Lin Chi's expression darkened. The gang has been trying to take over our territory. 2 nights ago, they deliberately set fire to our cargo. It's escalated to the point where even the local police are involved. They mediated with the gang's deputy leader, and now they want us to settle this with a fight. Their champion, Henry, is known to be unbeatable. He's a force to reckon with. A murmur rippled through the group of subordinates behind him. Boss, even though we've got top-tier fighters in Dark Knight, they're no match for Henry, one of them added hesitantly. Won-soo's eyes swept over them with calm authority. Send me Henry's profile, she instructed. Her voice was steady, her tone leaving no room for doubt. Also, I've just endured an overnight flight. I need to rest now. Handle the minor details without bothering me. With that, she strode into the estate, leaving her team scrambling to act on her orders. The door slammed shut with a resolute bang. Outside, her subordinates grumbled amongst themselves, their dissatisfaction barely concealed. What was the old master even thinking, passing the leadership to a useless woman, one muttered. It should have been Brother Lin who took over as the head. Despite the simmering discontent, Lin Chi remained silent, his stoic demeanor unbroken. Meanwhile, in an underground fight club not far away, the crowd buzzed with excitement. All eyes were on the stage where the much-anticipated match between Henry and a mysterious challenger was about to unfold. Bo Qingji lounged in a private booth on the second floor, a glass of red wine in hand. Across from him, his bearded companion, Kubo, poured himself a drink and smirked. You're here to watch the final showdown between the Dark Gate and the Gang too, huh? Ever since the old master of Dark Gate passed, they've been going downhill. Bo Qingji raised an eyebrow, his expression neutral. It's a surprise to come back after 4 years and immediately stumble upon a major event like this. Doesn't the Dark Gate have a new leader? Kubo scoffed, his disdain palpable. Yeah, I heard it's some woman. What can a woman even do these days? Bo Qingji's thoughts drifted to his enigmatic ex-wife. His grip on the glass tightened. She might surprise you, he thought. Just hours ago, he'd left a session with his therapist, his mind swirling with unresolved frustration. He had confided in his best friend earlier, rubbing his temples as he admitted his predicament. I only married her because my grandfather pressured me. For 4 years, she was gentle and caring, but after the divorce, I realized she treated the entire marriage like some sort of role-playing game. I don't think I ever really knew her. The therapist had raised an eyebrow at him, their voice calm yet pointed. You're a smart man, Bo Qingji. Divorce alone doesn't cause such deep-seated rage. Are you sure you didn't feel anything for her? Perhaps you ignored her too much to truly understand her, or maybe she worked hard to keep her real self hidden. Back in the Dark Gate's private booth on the second floor of the fight club, Lin Chi paced anxiously, his calm cracking under pressure. The match was moments away. Brother Lin's not ready yet, let me take his place, one subordinate blurted out. No, I'll do it, another countered. Worst case scenario, you get beaten to death. The tension in the room thickened as they prepared for what felt like an inevitable storm. Lin Chi deliberated for a few seconds before throwing open the door to the private booth. Forget it. None of you are skilled enough. I'll go myself. Just then, a sweet, melodic voice echoed through the loudspeaker. Now, let's welcome our 2 competitors to the stage. The massive screen lit up, displaying the match lineup, Henry vs. Yin Xiang. The crowd erupted into a frenzy. Whispers shot through the room like wildfire. Dark Gate's really pulling out all the stops this time. They actually invited the undefeated king of the ring, Yin Xiang. But didn't he disappear? I heard he was dead. Lin Chi, already on his way to the stage, froze mid-step. The name alone sent shockwaves through him. Yin Xiang. That can't be. The murmurs grew louder. A legend like him, fighting for Dark Gate? No way. Suddenly, a loud clang reverberated through the arena as the door to the stage swung open. All eyes turned to a figure emerging from the shadows, a graceful woman wearing a sleek mask. She moved slowly, her presence commanding the entire room. The crowd fell silent for a moment before exploding again. What? Yin Xiang's a woman? This has to be a fake. Meanwhile, on the second floor, Bo Qingji leaned against the railing, his pulse hammering in his chest the instant his eyes locked onto the masked figure. Wansu. His mind reeled, disbelief gripping him. What the hell is she doing on that stage? Is she out of her mind? Flashes of their life together hit him like a freight train. His delicate ex-wife, who couldn't even twist the cap off a water bottle, was now standing in a boxing ring, exuding an aura of absolute dominance. Bo froze, the truth unraveling in his mind. How much have you been hiding from me, Won-soo. Without thinking, he shoved past the people around him and raced toward the ring, his heart pounding with questions and dread. Won-soo, is this why you came to Italy? Down by the stage, Lin Chi recognized her too. His shock quickly morphed into fury. This reckless woman. He screamed at her with all the strength he could muster, get down from there. Do you have a death wish? But Won-soo didn't even glance his way. Her gaze remained locked on her opponent as the furious crowd roared louder. She's impersonating Yin Xiang. Unforgivable. Kill her, Henry. The countdown clock hit 9. Cheers filled the air like a tidal wave as the two fighters launched at each other simultaneously, fists colliding with explosive force. The woman on stage moved with a speed that seemed almost inhuman, leaping into the air and landing a swift kick squarely to Henry's face. The blow ignited something primal in him, his instincts flaring to life as he launched himself back at her. The two clashed in a whirlwind of punches and kicks, their movements so fast and fluid it was hard to keep up. Henry couldn't wrap his head around it. This scrawny-looking woman was stronger than she had any right to be,